Hey everyone, it's Mare checking in for day 5 on SickMom. So day 5 of the carnivore way of eating or eating plan. The more research I do, the more names seem to be popping up for the different ways of describing the carnivore diet. So it is really more of a lifestyle from everything that I'm seeing so far from other people who have been doing this for a really long time, is that you do have to commit to it as a lifestyle. And this isn't the first time I've had to have radical changes. For the most part, for the last 10 years, I've been more gluten-free than not. So giving up things like bread and wheat isn't really a big deal for me. Because it's something I know I'm not supposed to have anyway. So I'm still pretty happy. It's been a challenging day as far as having a headache that's been sort of lingering all day long. I would attribute that actually more to our crazy weather here in Calgary, because I'm in Canada, and we have a phenomenon here called a Chinook. So if you have no idea what an actual Chinook is, it's actually a weather system or a weather pattern that comes through, and it's wild. I live on the west side of the city, northwest, and we can see clear to the mountains, and that's where our weather systems tend to come through, is from the Rockies that are just to the west of Calgary. You can see a Chinook arch going across the sky, like it just spans the whole beautiful blue, and then you've got this band of clouds. It's like watching a weather front, but with a Chinook. You can usually tell that it's a Chinook because it's very windy at the same time and you're enjoying really warm weather. So it's been Chinooking here for probably, I don't know, I really saw the arch in the sky the other day on Friday when I was picking my daughter up from school, or from the bus, I should say. And it's such a beautiful sky. If I would have had an extra 5 minutes, I would have taken a photo, but I was kind of in a rush. But yeah, so I am not attributing this headache at all to what I've been eating. I do suffer from chronic migraines, and that's something that I'll get into in a different video. But today was not one of those that I was feeling would turn into a migraine. You start kind of getting into being able to differentiate different levels of that. So, but anyhow, it's manageable. I am feeling better. I have taken some electrolytes today. I'll talk about electrolytes on a different day though, because that's something that seems to be not a controversy, but it doesn't really seem to be something that people can agree on in the carnivore world as to whether or not you need them. A lot of people that are coming from keto are used to incorporating electrolytes into their diet, especially at the beginning when they, usually tell people they're going to have some kind of like a keto flu. And in carnivore, they just call that, I think, an adjustment or an adaptation period, which makes a lot of sense. You are trying to get your body to start using a different type of fuel, and that takes time, and it is going to impact the body and how it normally functions. So I'm being as realistic as I possibly can and understanding that probably for the first month, I'm going to have some days where I'm really not feeling that great. But overall, it's been a good week so far for me. I've had enough energy to go to Costco, and when I went and did that shopping yesterday, and still managed to have some good family time afterwards. I went and visited with my sister's family last night, and before that, during the day, I got to have coffee with one of my besties. Hi, Amy. It was such a good day for me, and so today, having a day where I'm feeling a little bit lower, less energy, is okay. I am accustomed to having those highs and lows on a weekly basis, and that's just come from practice and experience of making sure I'm monitoring my self-care, which is something that on this channel we are going to talk a lot about self-care. But like I've mentioned in the previous videos, I'm trying to keep these as close to carnivore and things that are directly related to carnivore. And then in the other sections that will be on this channel, you'll find other content that's, I hope you'll find really valuable and interesting. So, but yeah, the one thing I really did want to say was, since it was such a beautiful day, I mean, Canadians, a lot of us tend to barbecue year round anyway. So I have my barbecue out on my balcony, and even though it's January and there's snow outside, I could still go out in, shorts and a sweater to go barbecue burgers for dinner, which was really good. And so we had some burgers with some bacon. My daughter had them on a bun. I just had them on a plate. And I am finding today I'm just not really hungry. So I had some steak for lunch. I butchered up that really lovely piece of beef that I bought yesterday. So had a few steaks come out of that. I think it was excellent value to go that way. And but I couldn't even finish all the meat that I had on my plate. At this point, I'm coming from a place where, due to the nausea and those kinds of concerns that I have on a day-to-day basis, I generally don't have a large appetite, so I haven't been eating all that much. I have days where it's almost like I'm making up for it, and I can have, a solid few meals and have quite a bit, and that I'll feel fine. But today I was just looking at my plate and I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna eat all of that? So, that kind of ended up creating a second meal or a snack for later or something. So I have some leftover steak in the fridge, which I think is ideal, just like I have leftover burgers and bacon. And I don't know if I'm just the only weird one who does this, but when I make a pack of bacon, I'll do the entire thing on a cookie sheet in the oven. I find that's the most expeditious way, we'll say, of making a full pack of bacon, because I can't stand cooking bacon on the stove unless I'm camping. And then over an open fire is great, but I prefer doing it in the oven when I'm at home. There's a lot less mess, it's easier cleanup, and you can do a whole pack all at once. So it's not waiting for, just a few slices in the frying pan. I can do other things at the same time. So when I have, I take my bacon, I lay it out on paper towels, and you end up with really beautiful pieces of bacon that are nice and flat, and you can crisp them up to the level that you like, and draining off the bacon fat as you're cooking it along. And I'm saving that for cooking purposes now. Before, I used to just kind of, just so that it wouldn't end up in the garbage or whatever, I'd just keep it in a cup, and then it would go into our compost when I was ready to dispose of it. But now I'm actually using it for cooking, so it's quite useful. But yeah, after the bacon's cooled off, I tend to wrap it up in like some kind of cling film, and I'll put it in the freezer. And snacking on pieces of frozen bacon that's already been cooked, it's a really good snack. I started doing that a few years ago, to tell the truth, because when you're looking at something like carnivore, people are familiar with eating foods that are very nutrient dense. And when you are not consuming a lot of food in a day and you finally feel like you have the appetite for something, I tend to look and seek out foods that have a better not nutritional value. No, it's the density of the nutrients. So if you're eating something that's high fat, you may not need a lot of it as a snack because it's very satisfying. But having a slice or two of frozen bacon, that's been my go-to for a while, because it's a little bit of salt. And in particular, when I have headaches, I do find I need more salt. That's something I've sort of discovered on my own. And I again love Costco for this, because I can buy the Himalayan pink salt that I really enjoy. And it's very cost effective because you kind of get like a double pack with a grinder. So that's, we don't use iodized salt at all. And I think it is important to talk about salt sources and the kinds of salt that you're using. White table salt with iodine or iodine, however you prefer to say it, pretty much has had everything good taken out of it. It's been bleached or it's been prepared, and it just really is not anything that is, I don't know. I don't find that table salt is that appealing to me anymore. If I'm in a restaurant and that's all there is, sure. But the flavor that you get from a pink salt, it's not that it's that much different. It's that it's almost not as salty a taste, if you can say it that way. And also because I'm grinding it as I require it, and I've been doing that for years, so I know roughly how many turns is about like a half teaspoon of salt. So when I'm baking, I know 15 cranks is about a half teaspoon of salt. So you kind of get used to working in that way and adjusting, because if you were using table salt, you might actually need a little bit less because it just tastes saltier. And there's some other ones like fleur de sel and some beautiful salts that you can get from around the world that you don't necessarily need to use as much as table salt. That's kind of my impression. Just, I don't know, it gives a really nice flavor without just making everything taste just like salt. We need salt. That's something that's very important for for our nerve function. You need sodium in your diet, but you do also have to watch where that's coming from. And I hear a lot of people that, talk about maybe investigating carnivore because they're thinking about doing it, and it's a high sodium way of eating. Well, yes and no. If you're eating a lot of foods that are prepared for you, so prepared meats, like luncheon meats or sausage, bacon, a lot of bacon. I mean, yeah, for sure. There's definitely more salt, and there's a lot of other stuff that you don't want in there anyway. I've been buying the low sodium Kirkland brand bacon at Costco for years, and I like it a lot better. When I go to restaurants now, if I go to a breakfast place and they bring me, these little stringy pieces of bacon, it's like you can't taste the meat, you only taste the salt. With the Kirkland stuff, I find it's a lot tastier because you get a little bit more of that, cured pork flavor, instead of it just tasting like salt. Like some restaurant bacon grosses me out, but it's usually at the restaurants that are kind of, glorified fast food, where they are trying to turn over their tables as fast as possible, and they're kind of going with a more affordable product than if you were in a high-end restaurant, let's say, and that they have like thick double smoked or cured bacon. It's a very different thing. So be mindful. If you're on the road and all you have access to while you're driving on the highway is McDonald's, I totally understand. That would be a challenge, but at least I've seen some carnivores say, hey, all I do is I walk up, I ask them for just the patties, and I've done this before at lots of restaurants. Just when I was strictly off gluten for a very long time, I would just order the burger patty, and have the vegetables that would come with it. So like tomato or lettuce or pickles and maybe a slice of bacon or two, and then just kind of cut it up on a plate and eat it almost like a salad. So, but I have no issues with walking up to one of those fast food places and saying, okay, so I need you guys to get me a couple of patties that have no other seasoning except maybe just a little bit of salt. So I find I don't tolerate black pepper really well, so I've gotten used to ordering things in restaurants. Like if I go to a nice steak restaurant, and usually they have their own proprietary steak spice that has loads of pepper and it's got all kinds of stuff in it, and who knows what it is that they put in. Some people actually use flour, so you have to watch out if you are a gluten-free person to make sure when you're buying a seasoning, if you're getting a prepackaged one, that it doesn't have gluten in it, because sometimes wheat is used to keep it so that it's like a free-flowing seasoning, I guess, so that it doesn't just clump up. But yeah, so anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say today. And I really hope you are enjoying your weekend. Tomorrow is day 6, and I'm excited because I feel like I'm kind of getting a grip on it, because my fridge is looking a lot fuller, and it has a variety of things. Like I had leftover turkey from the holidays that I took out, so that way, you know, my daughter needs sandwiches this week for school and she just loves turkey, so that's great, and I can heat that up. And I do tend to prefer brown, like the dark meat. So a lot of what we have is dark meat, and so that's also a little bit more nutrient dense, or like higher calorie, higher fat, which seems to be really in line with carnivore because you do need the fat. Thanks again for watching, and please leave some comments if you have anything to say. I'm really interested to hear what people's thoughts are on this as I get deeper and deeper into carnivore. If you do like this video, to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you will know exactly when the next video is being released. I know that my day 4 update ended up going out at about 4 a.m. because it took that long for the YouTube uploader to do its magical thing. Hopefully it'll be a little bit earlier tonight. But anyhow, this is SickMom. Check it out. Have a great night, people.